In this video, we're going to be looking at all the new characters that can be introduced into Garten of Banban 3. Now, the newest character that I found is called Mr. Crocodile, and while we don't know too much about him, what we do know is that he seems to have a stomach in the middle of his torso, kind of similar to Chef Porkster. And while his picture looks kind of friendly, I can imagine that he's probably going to be quite evil. Next up on our list, we have Worm Jimmy and his family, and these kind of look cute from far away, but when they get up close to you, they look horrible, basically like cyclop worms. And since there seems to be a male and female version of these worms, I'm assuming that there's probably going to be some kids running around here somewhere. Next up on our list, we have Crabzilla, and this one is kind of interesting because from all the images that I've seen of him, he doesn't really seem to be that huge as compared to some other monsters like Jumbo Josh. So I'm thinking that maybe his name is kind of ironic, kind of like Slow Celine. Next on our list, we have the Lay's cat, and I've seen two different versions of this cat, one of which here he's very aggressive, and another one where he's basically like giving you a key card. So I think that this one can go either way. Maybe he'll be a friend if you do a certain task, or he's just going to be an enemy. Next, we have Sharksy, and different creators have different images of this guy. I really like this one by Rob because it makes him a huge shark instead of being more like a man-sized shark. Also like that there seems to be a little puzzle here that you can do. I hope they add something like this to part 3 for real, and it seems that if you get the puzzle wrong, you will end up being eaten by the shark. Now these next characters are the ones that creep me out the most, and it's these tiny versions of Nab Nab. I don't know about you all, but I definitely hate spiders, and these remind me of little spiders. And I don't know if y'all remember in the last video I did, I said I think Nab Nab is basically like a wolf spider, and they keep their young on their back, and this reminds me a lot of that. I also hope that in Garten of Banban 3, they keep this green light effect. I think that it would add a creepy dynamic to the game if you always have these little spiders chasing you and you need to be ready to use that light at any moment to keep them at bay. It'll make the chase scenes and the puzzles just that much more intense. Next up here we see Bambolina, and she has 2 holes in her body, and a lot of people thought that these were actually bullet holes, but I think these are from Silent Steve, who we get to see here. And as you look at him up close, you can see that he has 2 fangs protruding from his mouth, so it makes sense that he's probably the one that actually bit into Bambolina instead of there just being some random gun. And of course, right after that, we see Sheriff Toaster pop up, and I still think that this guy's going to end up being a good guy, because in this little animation here, we can see that he's actually the one that pulls up to kind of save you from Silent Steve. Next up, we have a giraffe character named Giraffe Melvin, and this character is interesting because just like the Crocodile and Chef Pigster, he also has a stomach in the middle of his torso. And just like with the Lay's cat, it looks like we're going to have to do some type of puzzle if we plan to get past him unscathed. After that, we have this character here who I said looks a lot like Tangela from Pokemon. I believe his name is the Noodle Ninja. And it seems like in the game, he's going to ask you to do some type of retrieval mission. And if you complete it, he'll let you pass. The next 2 characters here you're probably familiar with. The first one being Chef Pigster, who is this huge pig who also has a mouth in the middle of his torso. And then, of course, the next character is from the original game, which is Captain Flynn, who is basically a giant jellyfish who snatches this guy up. And the last major character that we see here is going to be Stinky Joel, and this character is basically like this lizard type monstrosity, and as you see here, there are a bunch of versions of him, or so it seems. But apparently in order to move forward, you're going to have to find the real one among all these basically mannequin versions of himself, which I think is a cool little dynamic to add to the game here. Make sure to put down in the comments which one of these characters is your favorite thus far. Subscribe today if you want to see more content on Garten of Banban 3, and thank you for watching.